Welcome everybody to this loaded gun of a topic. That's right, the top 40 best anime series of the last decade. My name is Misty/Chronexia. I'm gonna do my best to remain impartial and objective, but do expect some personal preferences to bleed in the mix at some point. Any pit-pat-rattle-at, just like any top list we do, there's some rules we need to go through. Don't be an impatient bitch. I'll go through them quickly, I swear. Rule number 1, only anime TV shows counts. No OVAs, movies, manga, light novel, recipe, epitaph, fanfiction, or Martin Scorsese submissions are allowed. Rule number 2, the IP or the franchises needs to start at the earliest on January 1st, 2010 and end in December 31st of 2019. I don't care that Mushishi Season 2 is so good. No one starts with Season 2, and Season 1 was so 2 decades ago, so who cares really? Rule number 3, also, because I know if I don't mention it, there's gonna be some smartass in the comment section below, I'm using the numerical system for the decade 0 to 9 as opposed to the traditional system 1 to 0, because I want to. And rule number 4, that's the last one. In that decade, there's over 7,500 different titles that got released. Narrowing it down to 40 is a Herculean task that will piss off everyone because I won't include your favorite. So as a polite reminder, shut the heck up and keep your hands inside the ride for the whole duration of the trip. I'm a professional, I know what I'm doing. And finally, pick a pen and paper. This is the time to catch up on what you've been slacking on. It's gonna be on the exam, so now let's buckle up and get that bread, you! Breaking up the ice at number 40 with Kanata no Astra. If you don't think Kanata no Astra deserves to be on this list, well first, you're just factually wrong, and second, get off my dick, I like this show. This anime came out in 2019 and it is mind-boggling how so many people are sleeping on it. It's 12 episodes of intrigue, an entire story wrapped up, no crappy filler ending hoping for another season, it's the full thing. Every episode ends up on a cliffhanger that makes you want to devour the rest of the show. The characters are all appealing in their uniqueness, the art is simply wonderful and whimsical depending on the planet they are on. The story is about a group of students who during a school trip get wormhole lost in space. Give it 2 episodes. If you're not hooked after that, well, you're just a liar with pants on fire. Number 39. Tsuki ga Kirei, another sleeper that people refuses to believe it's good until they actually sit down to watch it. I'm not overhyping it, it's a legit, honest to whatever god you believe in, show that will connect you on a solar level. Solar? Astral was I was thinking of. The story is about 2 teenagers who are nothing alike. The guy is a shy introvert who likes writing stories, is part of the neighborhood music comedy, and just likes books altogether, while the girl is an athletic social butterfly. Despite not having a lot in common, they always end up having some fate encounters, and that blossom into a very peculiar relationship. If you want a solid romantic story that doesn't have a ton of melodrama, this is for you. Number 38, Cells at Work. Probably the most undeserved entry on this list, but I don't care, I think it's genuinely genius. Cells at Work is a compilation of episodes about the various cells in the human body. Red blood cell, white blood cell, platelet, various infection, viruses, and so forth. It's a slice of life show that portrays a chemical outlook on how the blood delivers oxygen or how the body reacts when you get a cold, and so on. That in itself, if you have even the slightest interest in biology, is enough to captivate your attention. But what really blew me out of the water is all the hidden or not so hidden references. The analogy are all incredibly creative, and it's sincerely a must-watch for anyone considering a career in the healthcare system. Number 37, Moda Sushi. Moda Sushi is a Chinese anime, probably the best the decade has seen, but it's always an uphill battle whenever I try to recommend this show. I think it's truthfully one deserving the top 20 spot easily on this list, but it has several aspects playing against itself that makes it fall into a category of it might just be for certain people. First off, there's no Japanese dub. The entire audio is in Chinese, well, Mandarin, and it's about two bros going on an adventure. Road trip! I mean, not quite, but take a leap of blind faith. Trust me when I speak the gospel of this show. Call me out on Twitter if I'm wrong about it. I will fight you teeth and nail. Number 36, Showa Genroku Rakudo Shinju. Kind of for the same reason I've intentionally set back Moda Sushi, Showa Genroku is going to appeal to a very secluded kind of audience. If your go-to anime is Sword Art Online, Fairy Tail, or Naruto, there's a very unlikely scenario in which I can see you enjoy Showa Genroku. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just kind of an acquired taste. The story is about a former prisoner who, after being released from jail, decides to reform himself and learn the art of rakudo, a type of Japanese stand-up comedy. Sitting down, it's a cultural thing. Either you care about it or you don't, but if you do, this is an artistic masterpiece. Number 35, FateZero. Wow, how outlandish. People are already disliking. I'm sure people disagree with this position because there are some pretty rabid Fate fans out there, and Zero is like the genesis of it all, but hear me out still. Visually, I think Unlimited Blade Works beats Zero 10 out of 10 days. Story-wise, I like Zero better. It feels like the default story. If you've never tackled the Fate storyline and wonder where to begin, I made a video sorting out the chronology in which you can tackle this beast out, but otherwise it essentially boils down to historical figures, Hunger Games. Everyone kind of knows about it at this point and gets the respect it deserves because it is still very good. Again, 35 seems bad, but get some perspective, it's out of 7,500 other shows. I just think there are better ones than this one. Number 34, Beastar. How good can a furry anime be, really? Is probably what you're saying right now if you're the skeptical type. Well, you'd be really surprised. If you enjoyed the movie Zootopia from Disney, I highly recommend you give this one a glance. They have similar topic going on where the predators are a threat to other animals of society due to their innate urges, and it is handled beautifully. This show is also done in CGI, which can be a deal breaker for some people. One of the reasons why it set itself back on the list, but if you're anything like me and you enjoyed the 3D look, you'll find this thriller mystery quite enticing. Number 33, Kaguyasama Love is War. Kaguyasama is exactly what you would get if Death Note's character, Light and L, were of opposite genders and were trying to secretly smooch each other, which arguably might be the case regardless. My point is that Kaguya-sama is a mind game anime, but instead of having dire implication, it's just trying to get the other person to ask them out. Comedy is heavily spread and characters have multiple layers of depth, which makes them quite likable despite their obvious flaws. Number 32, Anohana and Angel Beats. It's a dual entry. I couldn't decide between both because they're both amazing, but they also both offer similarly the same feeling. I mean, if you like one, the other is just more of the good same thing. Anohana is a story about a group of friends who must learn to move on after the death of one of their friends, while Angel Beat is a collection of people on a school ground that, no matter what, they cannot die. So they must take on this enemy they believe is an angel sent to lock them here. Personally, I like Angel Beats better. The comedy offset the heavy drama and makes things more bearable for me, but both are, without a doubt, fantastic. Number 31st. No, that's not a number. Number 31, Shinsekai Yori. This one came out in 2012 and I still think about it severely. The story is about a tiny village where children have some special powers, of the telekinetic kind. Eventually, some of the kids begin to disappear. Everything leads to a kidnapping of sort, but is there more to the story? Question mark? This is the kind of anime that benefits from the viewer knowing as little as possible going in, and I kind of want to keep it that way. It's a really powerful one, and I think everyone should try it if you like some good psychological horror stories. It's one of the top one in my personal opinion. Number 30, Rising of the Shield Hero, the first isekai on this list. There's a few, don't worry. When it comes to isekai, I'm pretty freaking jaded of them all. It needs to have some good twist on it for it to be captivating enough. Rising of the Shield Hero was just that. The story begins with a main character who gets summoned to another world, as one does, along with 3 other heroes. Each one of them gain a special weapon they are forced to wield, and, well, as you can guess by the title, he earns the shield. Unfortunately, he also gets conned into becoming the bad guy against his will, a fallen hero of sorts. Vowing to get revenge on the kingdom, he decides to do things his own way, and there's just something really satisfying in seeing a character that is street smart, you know what I mean? Number 29, the Tatami Galaxy. Ever feel like taking a trip on LSD? Well, I don't recommend it, but if you want to know what it would feel like, just watch the Tatami Galaxy. Purely artistically speaking, this anime is one of a kind. It would still make the list on that alone. But added to this, they really bring out an outstanding plot to go along. The story begins with a college student who is filled with regret. He looks back at his past year in school and wonders how things would have been had he taken a shot rather than standing on the sideline. So he gets to do a do-over. Number 28, Eurocamp. Are you stressed? Cause you seem a little bit stressed. A little bit of moe nature goes a long way into cheering someone up and unwinding. Eurocamp is a story of a group of teenage girls that goes out on an adventure to climb, hike, camp, and purely enjoy the nature in itself. It sounds a bit like a snore when I describe it as such, but give it an episode or two and you'll be convinced in a heartbeat. For people who enjoy the slice-of-life comedy genre, this is a must-pick. Currently, there's another title herring called A Camp. It's not a sequel. There's a proper season 2 in the making, but right now, Hey Camp just kind of encompassed the same spirit. Compass joke. It's a terrible one. It's not quite as good, but if you crave for more of the same, it still hits the spot in a good way. Number 27, The Promise to Neverland. Remember Kaguyasama? We talked about it earlier in this video that you definitely didn't skip through. Wink wink. Anyway, Promise to Neverland is a similar kind of mind game, but rather than being about love and trying to get a confession, it's about a group of orphan kids who are, well, spoiler for the first episode, I guess. The children are groomed, for lack of a better term, into becoming food for demons. Turns out, the whole orphanage is a farm to make the tastiest Nestle kits possible. So upon learning this, they try to make an escape. A bit slow, no doubt, but definitely top tier. Number 26, Dr. Stone, the second isekai of our trilogy, and also the last entry to make it in this decade, cutting it real short, but it still counts. Dr. Stone is what I would call an unconventional battle shonen anime. It's got fights in it, but instead of being about powering up, training, it's generally a management type game where you craft an item and that item helps you craft another item, and it's pretty much Civilization, the anime edition. Add to this some severe jaw-dropping moment with artwork that takes your breath away. I think giving it some more episodes would really boost its shine even more, but for right now, it's all we got, unfortunately. Number 25, Haikyuu. I think when it comes down to sports anime, it's a very niche genre. Similar to mecha, it just speaks to a more compact part of the anime community. That being said, I think Haikyuu goes beyond that. It transcends being just a good sports anime. A story about a group of dejected volleyball enthusiasts who all come together under the umbrella of this once formerly great school. They try to regain that title and rise back to the top. You have epic soundtrack, climactic battles, and really endearing characters that stitch the whole thing together quite well. Number 24, Running with the Wind. Running with the Wind is the second and last sports anime on this list. It achieves something that I haven't had the chance to experience since probably iShield 21 and Overdrive. It made me freaking cry. I'm not telling you it's gonna make you cry, but it touched me in my no-no place when I least expected it to. The story is about a group of college students who all live under the same roof, and they decide to make a party of 10 to run the Hakone Ekiden Marathon, a relay race spread over 10 legs of 20 kilometers each. They must qualify to be allowed to participate, but all their party have different skill level of running, making this extremely janky and purely amazing. Number 23, No Game, No Life. The last isekai of the trilogy I'm allowing on this list. This anime has been nothing shy of exhilarating ever since it came out. People begging for a sequel they're never going to get. A story that, if at this point in time you haven't seen, I just worry about you as an anime watcher. The plot is about two siblings, a boy and her younger sister, who are very smart, game-wise. So much that they're undefeated in no matter the game they play. Teleported to another world ruled by gaming of all kind, they must strive to climb up to the top of the hierarchy by winning a hand of poker and a game of chess or two. Again, very highly praised. Number 22, One Punch Man. Man, this anime was in the running to possibly be the greatest thing ever made this decade. Well, everything changed when the Fire Nation when Season 2 happened. A change of studio in just overall direction make this epic show drop the ball pretty heavily. Good characters and a good story can only carry you so far if the animation and the visual of the show in general just looks like, well, this. Otherwise, Season 1 is just pure concentrated orange juice and made bald cool, and for people like myself, it was very welcome. People may say I'm too harsh about Season 2. I think it did a lot of great, but it also dropped the ball on certain aspect that made Season 1 just stand above the crowd. Could be just my take on it though. Number 21, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. At this point, I just don't know if people really like JoJo for being a good anime, or is it just because the whole thing turned into a giant meme? Who's to say? So I'll go in with my personal opinion mostly on this one. I freaking love JoJo. I think it's perfect balance between serious comedy and action adventure. It's really easy to mess up this recipe, but JoJo just nails it when it matters most. Of course, at this point, I think pretty much everyone knows about this title, but if you go in blind, my only advice is get ready for a lot of surprises, and don't get too attached to JoJo. Number 20, Vinland Saga. Yes, I know, it deserves to be higher. Get off my dick again. You're back on it, and it's really uncomfortable while I try to record stuff. You think Vikings are cool? Well, depending on your answer, it's gonna be either a blast or very kind of experience. Cutting it even closer than Dr. Stone with the last episode of the anime airing on December 30th, 2019, it just made the cut. A story about a young boy who grew up amidst the war. His father murdered by a man he swore to get revenge from. Picture the Viking spirit of How to Train Your Dragon, the gruesome ambience of Berserk, and the war angle you have in Arslan Senki, and you get this epic mix in Vinland Saga. Pick it up if you care for a dark action adventure. Number 19, Katanagatari. Again, we've gone through this before. Yes, 19 seems high on the chart, but it's out of several thousands. At this point, the thing that stands these shows apart are absolutely negligible. It's very likely you'll dislike this number, but like number 38 so much more. Katana it's a grand adventure about a girl who seeks out to find 12 legendary swords who are personified into human beings. The show began right on the edge of 2010, it's filled to the brim with awesome battle, interesting characters, and a story so in-depth that 12 episodes feels more like 24. Probably has to do with the fact that each episode is 50 minutes long, but who's counting? Number 18. Rainbow Nisha Rokubu no Shichinin. Rainbow, despite its title, is nothing but colorful. It's actually a very dark story that happens in the 50s, about 10 years after World War II, in a prison where delinquents get stowed away to be reformed, or so they claim. When you get a proper look into the correctional facility, it turns out that people in charge are all corrupted cogs, part of a disgusting system. In the midst of that chaos is 7 kids who try to hope for a better future. This is a really powerful and heart-touching story. Please go in with a proper mindset. Number 17. Assassination Classroom, one of the greatest shonen edition in the last decade, and possibly one of the greatest ending we've seen since Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Assassination Classroom is a story about a seemingly menacing octopus monster who threatened to destroy the Earth after 3 years, unless someone is able to kill it. Unfortunately for the military, it has incredible powers that make it nearly indestructible, until a group of failing students begin a tutelage under the monster to become trained assassins. Some anime have made me shed a tear here and there, but none have made me openly sob the way Assassination Classroom did with its ending. This truly feels like a masterpiece to me. Number 16. Ping Pong the Animation. I think Ping Pong revolutionized a part of the animation world. It made it so that it wasn't taboo anymore to get some out there looking art, because animation is flow, and they truly killed it in Ping Pong. The story is about Smile and Peko, 2 very talented ping pong players who must challenge a player from China in the hopes of scoring a spot in the Inter-High ping pong competition. Made by the same director that did the Tatami Galaxy, so it's only fitting to get an entry here as well. Also, this soundtrack is absolute fire. Number 15. Land of the Lustrous, the redemption arc anime nobody expected. This show came out and thousands of people dismissed it, mainly because of the CGI. But if you stayed through the entire thing, the whole show paid you back in spades. This anime is phenomenal, both visually and, well, actually it just slides on every aspect. Characters are amazing, the story is good, the visual, the soundtrack, name it. The only reason it still has a bad score, and that's arguable, is because people didn't give it the entire college try, and well, some shows just need a bit of wind-up time. This is one of them, but it's really worth it. Number 14. A Place Further Than the Universe. Girl who really likes penguins decides to save up to go on a trip to Antarctica. One of her friends decides to hijack her journey and they depart together, bonding together, meeting new people on this trip, and generally just enjoying their youth at their best. As someone who travels a lot, I get it. There's a lot of magical moments you can grasp on trips like this that will last with you for a lifetime. Pair that with a really good soundtrack, it's a try to see it anime. Number 13! Your Lie in April! The anime that will turn you into an emotional mess. If Anohana and Angel Beats didn't do you in, this is the final nail in the coffin of your psychological state. A story about a fallen pianist that was incredibly good but was pushed too far by his mother who strived to get perfection. After she passed away, it left him with a disdain for piano and a similar lack of interest in music and life in general, until he meets a girl who changes his perspective on, well, pretty much everything. A very uplifting anime, until it's not anymore. Number 12. Parasite the Maxim. This anime has been nothing but build up upon build up, a show nobody expected anything exceptional out of, and it just went above and beyond. The story about a below average student who gets infected by a parasite that takes control of his hand, and they must fend off other parasites that have infiltrated themselves into society. There's action, gore, sentimental moments, politics, morality. It's an entire package, and I'm really hitting myself to not be able to squeeze it in the top 10 because it is so deserving of it. Listen to the song Next to You and tell me that doesn't send shivers down your spine. Number 11, Food Wars! My last semi-undeserved entry, winning a good rank purely out of personal bias. I'll admit it on this one, just like Dr. Stone, this is an unconventional battle shonen anime themed about cooking without Gordon Ramsay. Here's the kicker, it sounds stupid. It's 40 plus something episodes of a dude doing a recipe, seemingly kinda janky and winning because the morality of it is experience beats textbook smart all the time. I mean, that's the message I got from it. But the execution is so freaking flawless. In terms of watching anime, there's very few show that gives me satisfaction the way watching an episode of Food Wars while having lunch does. It just hits me in a good way. Is it a better anime than Your Lie in April or Ping Pong or any other one listed before? Hell no. But do I like it more? Hell yes! Number 10, Demon Slayer. Really, number 10? Oh, don't I know this one to vote for the best animation of the decade according to Funimation? Yeah, no. Don't get me wrong, I think Ufotable did a phenomenal job. They absolutely killed it, but so did every other title above it from here on out. At this point, I have to nitpick details out, and as much as I love Demon Slayer, there's clearly a recent bias when it comes to this one, and because of that, I think that is also its downfall. Not enough content is out at the moment to rival with the weight the behemoths ahead left in the community. But Demon Slayer, if you have not seen it, a story about a guy that has his family slaughtered and goes on a quest to try and revert back his sister from demonhood to humanhood. Number 9, My Hero Academia. My Hero Academia is the result of taking mainstream hype and just steroid injecting it full of polished quality. There's a trend right now about superheroes, thanks to Marvel mostly, but My Hero Academia just capitalized on that, and when you have a solid concept with likable characters, a clear direction, and just millions of dollars to pump in quality, this just gives you this absolute shine. Yes, I absolutely think Hero Academia has Demon Slayer beat. Yes, Demon Slayer had episode 19, but have y'all forgotten about season 2's fight between Deku and Todoroki? Also the soundtrack? Sure, this anime is mainstream as heck, but it's because it does everything right. Number 8, Zangatsu no Lion. This is possibly not gonna be at the speed of everyone, but if you love a good drama, a powerful story, and some of the best character development the world of anime has to offer, I personally think Zangatsu has every other drama this decade beat. The story is about a shogi prodigy who's completely jaded out of life until he starts to bond with a trio of sisters. This show is guaranteed to move you to tears with its incredible soundtrack and just flawless execution all around. It's rather slow paced, true, but it still nails everything perfectly. Number 7, Violet Evergarden. Speaking of slow pace, have you ever watched Violet Evergarden? Because if you have, then you would have no qualms seeing it in the top 10. You can pause this anime at any moment. Anyone. Every frame is a picture worth hanging up. It took several years to make this anime, but boy does it show in the final result. A story about a recycled war machine that is turned into a glorified mailman. A bit of a slow burn on this one. If you like high-octane action, this will have you snore, especially if you're not one to care about beautiful artwork. But if you do, then this is definitely one of Kyoto's animation's finest work, since Koei no Katachi that cannot be listed since it's a movie. Number 6! Mob Psycho 100! Imagine if One Punch Man had 2 absolute killer seasons instead of just 1. You'd get the same result you have with Mob Psycho. This series, although slightly different visually speaking, still spit fire all throughout. Mob Psycho 100 starts off as a generic slice-of-life comedy with some supernatural element, and it finishes with a massive bang of action shonen battles. Both seasons sprinkle with really cool characters. The story is about a really average teenager who has unparalleled psychic powers. When his stress factor builds up too much, it overflows and spills psychic energy everywhere. Watch it, you will not regret it. And we enter the top 5 with Made in Abyss. City lives in a giant donut around the Earth's butthole. Main girl character goes spelunking in there, and she finds a ton of weird stuff, like her mom's dildo, monsters, and a tiny robot whom she befriends. Jokes aside, this anime won the Anime of the Year in 2017, and it was well deserved. The love cast, awesome execution all across the bar, and it gives you the big adventure feeling that you can only get with a handful of shows. Still not getting it? Alright, picture a very kawaii moe, G.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit, and H.P. Lovecraft monsters, and steer a lot. That's the kind of fantasy you're getting here. Number 4! Madoka Majika! Yeah, stand by this score. Madoka Majika revolutionized the genre of magical girls. Once a bubbly, colorful, vivid world meant for kids has now been tainted with a dark spin on it, and no one saw it coming. They don't give you the reveal in episode 1 like all of these cheap copycats try to do nowadays. They build on it for 3 episodes before they make you realize it's actually much heavier of a topic than you first thought. That alone would be worth praises, but the reveal at the end of the show too? I honestly think it turns it into a modern masterpiece. It's almost been 10 years, and anytime a new dark magical girl titles come out, they call it a Madoka clone. That's how you know you got a classic. Number 3! Steins Gate! This anime is the number 1 pick for a lot of people when it comes down to the best of the decade. And I'm right there with you if it weren't for the fact that the other 2 I feel like have a little something above Steins Gate, mainly for me. Just short of beating Fullmetal Alchemist, Steins Gate has been number 2 since it came out. A stellar story about time travel that will blow your socks off, because no matter how hard he tries, he can't seem to alter the events leading up to a catastrophe. A second season came out and kept adding more to the plot. These are as good as it gets. Number 2! Hunter x Hunter 2011. It's not a secret, I've never hidden my love for Hunter x Hunter. When I started watching it, I went through the entire show in less than a week. If you do the math, that's about 10 hours of watching each day. This is how good and addicting this anime is. Beyond being just a cool show, the show delivers on all the fronts. The first time you hear the song Empress Time, if that doesn't give you shivers of badass, you're probably dead inside. Visually, flawless and stunning, animation smooth like a baby's bum, and every character instantly appealing the moment they hit the screen. Every arc's built upon itself, there's richness on every front, and it just slays, man. It's that good. Stop putting it on the back burner, it deserves better. And finally, before we hit number 1, there's a few honorable mentions I'd like to go through, namely Gintama, Natsume Yujincho, and the Monogatari franchise. All 3 have brought so much to the decade, but in the end I decided to leave them out despite most of their content coming out in this last decade because, well, they originally started in the previous one. Is that unfair? Who's to say? Anyway, that leaves us with... finally, the number 1 spot, which belongs to Attack on Titan. As much as I love Hunter x Hunter, and I think it's absolutely flawless, Attack on Titan is just a behemoth of a show. Which studio has absolutely slain the world of anime with its unique visual? Whether that's with their opening, or personally for me, whenever the characters are Spider-Maning around the world at jet speed, it's truly stunning to see. Tie this with a jaw-dropping story that they have been building onto since day one. The culmination that characters, even if they're beloved, are expendable. It makes this, in my professional opinion, the best creation of the decade. The plot isn't over right now, the final season is supposed to air at the end of this year, but honestly, even knowing this, it deserves the title with the first 3 seasons, hands down. Wow, this has been a monster of a video. By the script alone, this is like an 8-page essay. Whenever it comes down to the best list of any kind, there's always a bit of, or a lot of bias, and it never sit well with absolutely everyone. Maybe someone really hated Attack on Titan, and he or she is currently writing their own essay about how dumb my opinion is. That's not the point. That has never been the point. All my videos have ever tried to achieve is to get you interested in trying out a new title you may have been on the fence about. Thank you all for these wonderful years, and I hope you'll come back to my channel by subscribing, or just binge watch the 100 of different top lists I've done in the past, and we'll keep on making. They're just really fun to make. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Hard times, I've been on the wrong side, I've been ashamed. So many memories, you know I'd like to change.